It's my favorite blue shirt.
I always hated that shirt. Boy down.
Put the crossbow down.
You can still ride out of here.
Not without you.
Simon!
Look at him, Stefan. There's no fight left in him. As for the crossbow, I doubt he can even shoot it straight.
Not bad, considering...
Thanks.
I was really hoping we could be good friends.
Why don't you just pick yourself up out of this chair and let me put a rope around you and keep you close till Rowan gets back?
You're going to hang! 1 hour! I made a deal.
I've come for my son.
Not so fast.
I've come for my son.
Not so fast.
Spanned by placing a foot under the bow stave and drawing the string back onto the nut. The bolt was then placed inside the string, and the whole thing was released by a touch on the trigger.
Full draw for any length of time, whereas with the crossbow,
You got it, to stand. Then he could span his bow safely behind the protection of the shield. He could then shoot it, still protected. Now, many medieval battles were sieges, and the crossbow was an ideal weapon either to attack a castle or to defend it. It just depended which side had more crossbowmen.
the arbalest, once spanned, could be fired at leisure without effort. It merely required alignment and the correct elevation for the distance of a chosen target. But there's more.
So would you
Most importantly, the crossbow could fire a bolt which flew faster, further, more accurately, and with greater penetration than any archer's.
the tiller? This was placed on the ground, the foot was placed inside it, and this made the pull of the string much easier. As crossbows became more, the first of these was the spanning belt. This was simply a belt with a hook attached. The crossbowman places crossbow on the ground, kneel down, put the hook over the bowstring, and then he could use the full force of his body to pull that string up.
A further refinement was to put the hook on a pulley, which moved along a cord. One end of this was attached to the belt, and the other to a peg on the tiller. The body pulled the string back as before, but the pulley gave a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage.
The metalworkers of Europe discovered how to make bow stays of steel, of relatively high resilience. Now, these were a great improvement, but they were expensive and they required some extremely skilled metalworking. The bow stay was usually held in a recess cut in the front of the tiller, and it was either bound on with cords or secured by a system of braces and wedges. There we are. These more powerful than them. Now, the windlass was a metal frame that attached over the butt end of the tiller. Connected to it was this drum with 2 winding handles, connected to a couple of cords and a whole system of pulleys. At the business end were these 2 hooks. They hooked over the bowstring, and then the windlass itself was wound up. The string is pulled backwards over the nut, and when it reaches that point, you want to check that the trigger is fully engaged. Now the windlass is wound down to engage the bowstring onto the nut, and the windlass itself is then removed. Now, at last, we have a really powerful crossbow with a mechanical spanning system, a truly deadly weapon. As the crossbow spread, so did the horror that this weapon inspired. At the siege of Chaluz in 1199, he was mortally wounded by a crossbow bolt, which some saw as God's punishment.
Coming up, today our team, dressed as mercenaries of the Middle Ages, practice loading and firing the medieval crossbow. The crossbowman played a pivotal role in many battles of the Middle Ages. From his position at the forefront and on the wings of the battle, his main purpose was to stop the advance of the enemy, especially cavalry.
The main disadvantage of the pinion device. Inside this case is a toothed wheel, which engages on this toothed bar with a double hook on the end. The bar is wound down to collect the string. It's then wound up again to pull the string back onto the nut. In this position, you ensure that the trigger is fully engaged, and then you wound down the crannikin once again. The crannikin was removed, bolt placed in the bow. Now, the crannikin was much...
There are a few basics you're going to have to pick up on. Number one, and probably the most important, is the safety. Safety's ambidextrous, left or right on the crossbow. Must be in the fire position to cock. Out front of the bow, there are grooves at the forearm of the crossbow. Those are for your thumbs and fingers. Keep them in there. Basic way of cocking the crossbow, step into the stirrup up to the ball of your foot. I try to put my chest right down on the stock, get my index fingers along the rail, use all 4 fingers on each hand, all the way back to the latch. Crossbow's then cocked, automatically goes in the safe position when it's cocked.
Inside your scope, you'll see a heavy horizontal line. That is zeroed in at 20 yards. Each line below that represents another 10 yards of elevation. Work it out. You're going to shoot.
Although they will shoot in pairs, it's every man for himself. So may the best crossbowman win. Dan and Phil go first. Considering the little training they've had, they do okay. And both get 2 hits. At this close range, Mike and Darth seem confident. They also get 2 hits each. After target 1, all team members are tied with 2 points each. Moving to target 2, each team member has to deal with an increased elevation. The lines inside the scope make it easier, but their inexperience causes mistakes. Dan and Phil give it a go. Dan earns 2 hits, but Phil only gets 1. Darth remains steady and gets 2 hits, but Mike only gets 1. 6 arrows out of 8 hit target 2. Dan and Darth are in the lead, each with 4 hits. Tension builds as the team tackles target 3, the bear. Dan and Phil find 60 yards a difficult range, but Dan still manages to get 2 hits. Phil, on the other hand, only scores 1. Mike lacks concentration and makes only 1 hit, but Darth maintains his focus and strikes the bear twice. The team doesn't know it, but there is no clear leader after target 3.
All right, line of fire. There'll be a mark for the bullseye. Whoever is closest to the bullseye gets double points. Shoot!
The team has finished the Conquest Challenge. Now let's tally up the scores.
All right, gentlemen.
That's the consistency of a human head.
The answer lies in the soldiers themselves. Like a recruit of the 15th century, Corey Keeble is not a trained warrior.
Well...
You look like the Elephant Man. That's all I'm saying. Getting really expensive clothes. It's okay. What can you not believe? Go ahead and tell me what you can possibly not believe. What could possibly come out of your mouth that's even remotely interesting or of merit or of value? I mean, I've had enough.
made out of self-wood, which means they were cut from one piece of wood. Yew trees made the best longbows. Its outer white sapwood was strong and could withstand a lot of tension. The inner red heartwood could resist compression. The crossbow is a small bow mounted onto a wooden stock, or tiller, with a trigger mechanism to release the bolt, or quarrel. Because the bow was short, it took a lot of energy to pull back the bowstring. You needed both hands to hook it into the nut, and all that energy is stored up in the tension of the bow's arm. Release the trigger, and the bolt shot off like a bat out of hell. So, while the longbow needed a lot of skill and muscle, the crossbow was a cinch by comparison.
Anybody, let's just crank this baby off here.
Well, there we go. Now I'm talking penetration here. Look at that.
Matt and I have been through a lot up to this point. So we have got to find a way to replenish calories and water. There's only 4 components to this crossbow. You've got the body itself, you've got the limb. Oh yeah. See how that's bending? You've got the string and you've got the trigger. This is the piece that you have to be really technical with. You can get away with being a little bit wrong with the limb or the body of this thing, but when it comes to the trigger, it's got to be dead on. All right, and it sits just like so. Okay, so the string's going to come back, it's going to loop over this, and when I squeeze it, it's going to release it. Oh yeah. That'll definitely take a small animal. My bow's done. The only thing I need to do right now is make some arrows, and I'll be good to go.